Imagine an ordinary morning when the alarm clock rings at 6:30 and you are 42 years old. You open your eyes and the first thing you feel is a heaviness that is not physical at all. It is the heaviness of knowing you must go somewhere you do not want to be again today. You go to a job that drains your soul just to pay off loans for things long ago thrown in the trash. You look in a mirror and see an exhausted person staring back at you with tired eyes. You own a house with a mortgage, and 15 more years of payments remain on your shoulders. You drive a used car that constantly needs repairs, and you have $0 in your bank account. You wonder where you took the wrong turn in life and why others live on islands while you count days until payday. The answer is unpleasant because you did not kill your future today, but 20 years ago when you were young. It happened at the moment when it seemed like you had your whole life ahead of you. Back then, 40 years old seemed like deep old age that you would never actually reach in life. Today, we will take a brutal tour into your future, and I will show you the mathematics of your mistakes. One wrong step at 20 costs you millions. By 40 in your youth is the most expensive loan you ever take. Learn how to stop digging your own grave with a dessert spoon starting right now today. Here we learn the hard truths about money and build a fortress out of assets to protect ourselves. This fortress prevents the stream of crap from the economic system from destroying your financial future. Today will be painful, but useful, so get out your calculator and some sedatives for this journey. The first and most insidious mistake is what I call the curse of "I still have time" mentality. At 20 years old, a virus sits inside your head and whispers that you have eternity ahead of you. The virus asks why you should deny yourself an iPhone right now when you can buy it later in life. You tell yourself that at 30, you will become a director and save in 1 year what would take 5 years now. This does not sound like a real plan because it is a trap that will snap shut when you least expect it. You think you're just postponing investing, but in reality, you're increasing the difficulty level from beginner to God mode. Let us calculate the price of your wait a bit mentality with a retirement goal of 50 years old and $500,000. That sum will provide you with passive income of approximately $4,000 to $5,000 per month, bringing freedom and cocktails. The rate of return is the same average 10% per year, but you suddenly realize old age is coming and there is no money. You only have 10 years left, so hold on to your chair because your monthly payment is now $1,500. You must pull over $1,000 out of your pocket every month just to catch up to the student who saved $50. You back yourself into a corner when at 20, you could have bought your freedom for the price of sneakers. At 40, you have to sell a kidney to buy that same freedom, and mathematics does not care about your excuses. Every year of standing still pushes back the finish line and makes your backpack heavier in geometric progression. At 20, you walk uphill with an empty bag, but at 30, you drag a sack of potatoes. At 40, you try to drag a concrete slab up Mount Everest, and most likely you will tear something vital. Start today, even if you only have $10, because it is better to carry a grain of sand now than a boulder later. The second mistake is the social status trap, or simply put, when showing off costs more than money. At 20, your self-esteem is as unstable as the Bitcoin exchange rate, and it feels vitally important to prove you are cool. Marketers know this weakness, and they implanted a chip in your brain saying you are what you own. You make a fatal mistake by buying liabilities that require maintenance using money you do not have. A classic example is the first car purchase when a 22-year-old gets a job paying $40,000 a year. He takes a car loan for a vehicle worth $25,000 with a monthly payment of $400. Gas, insurance, and tires cost another $200. So, in total, the car devours 50% of his income. He works for the car and becomes a slave to a piece of metal, but that is only half the trouble. The real problem is that a car depreciates every second, and in 5 years, it will be worth half as much. He will repay the loan with interest at twice the car's original value, which is a double robbery. At 40, this guy will realize that if he had used public transport and invested $600 monthly, he would have $80,000. That is a down payment on a house or a powerful start for a business, but instead he is only a rusty bucket in memories. The same applies to gadgets because an iPhone on credit with a salary of $40,000 is a financial diagnosis. It is financial oligophrenia because you buy a phone that will be obsolete in a year while overpaying the bank 40% annually. You try to appear rich while diligently making yourself poor, but truly wealthy people in their 20s look like homeless individuals. They ride buses and wear simple clothes because they throw all spare money into the furnace of compound interest. They're building a foundation while you buy bottled water while standing next to a river. The third mistake is education just for the diploma, because since childhood, we were indoctrinated to study well and find a stable job. At 20, you spend 5 years of life on a degree you are not interested in just because mom said so. You graduate university at 23 with no skills, just a piece of paper and ambitions, then go work in an office for $40,000. You get stuck there in what is called the average salary trap because you have enough for food and rent, so you calm down. You stop learning and think your career will grow on its own, but in 2026, the world has changed with neural networks and automation. Your stable profession as office plankton is first in line for slaughter. The mistake is that at 20, you do not take risks because you are afraid to start a business or go freelance. You are afraid to change cities or countries. So you choose safety, but safety at 20 means poverty at 40. While you sit in a warm office shuffling papers, your peer who went into sales failed with 2 startups and learned to edit video or write code. Your peer is getting bruised and learning lessons while building social capital, but you will only have experience sitting in a chair. The fourth mistake is relationships without a calculator because this is the most taboo topic of all. At 20, hormones hit your head and you move in together, get married in credit, and never discuss money. You choose a partner with different financial DNA, and this will lead to divorce at 40, destroying your capital. Having children early without a financial cushion puts a cross on your career and capital growth for 10 years. All money goes to diapers and doctors, and you have no resources for a breakthrough in life. The fifth mistake that nobody thinks about at 20 is neglecting your own body and health. At 20, your body is a free gift with no pain. Hangovers pass in an hour, and you exploit this resource mercilessly. Fast food, energy drinks, alcohol, lack of sleep, and a sedentary lifestyle become your daily routine. At 40, the bill will come, and it will be enormous for your teeth, spine, stomach, heart, and blood vessels. Treating cavities at 20 costs $200, but implants at 40 cost $5,000 because the tooth rotted. Strengthening your muscle corset at the gym costs $500 a year, but treating a hernia costs tens of thousands. Everything you saved on quality food in your youth, you will give to pharmacies in maturity with interest. Medical inflation is the highest in the world, and medicines are getting more expensive faster than Bitcoin. A sick person cannot be rich because they have no energy to earn and their thoughts are about where it hurts. Your body is your main asset, and without it, all your millions are just numbers that heirs will use. The sixth and final mistake is living on credit from yourself, and we need to understand why we make all these mistakes. We're not stupid, but our brain at 20 is like a drug addict with prefrontal cortex maturing only at 25. Banks know this, so they offer credit cards with free periods at every corner, and marketplaces introduce split payments. When you press the buy button, you get a dose of dopamine and feel like a hunter who caught a mammoth. But the mammoth is virtual and the debts are real. And at 20, you are forming neural connections. If you get used to relieving stress, With purchases, you are doomed because at 40, stress will be greater. You will become a shopaholic running on a consumption treadmill, increasing speed but staying in place. The only way to hack the system is to get dopamine from growth in your brokerage account, close credits, and learn languages. Reprogram your brain while it is still plastic, because later it will be too late and you cannot teach an old dog new tricks. Let us summarize and ask, what is the price of enlightenment as we return to the 42-year-old man from the beginning? Do you know what he regrets most? Not that he earned little, but that he wasted opportunities. At 20, you have the most valuable asset in the universe, which is a low base and time on your side. You can live on $3,000 a month and be happy because you do not need business class comfort and you have no obligations. You can risk everything, and if you fail, you can start over, but at 40, the price of a mistake is a catastrophe. You cannot risk the house where your children live, and you become a coward involuntarily. First, start paying a tax on your future by investing 20% of any income and pretend this money does not exist. Second, kill the consumer inside you by walking with an old phone, but having Apple stocks in your portfolio. Third, never take loans for liabilities, no matter how much you want it, because it destroys your future. Fourth, learn to manage risks by changing jobs and trying businesses while you're still young. Fifth, choose your environment carefully, because if your friends call you to drink beer every Friday instead of discussing ideas, change friends. You can turn off this video and go scroll the feed further, and the system will be happy. The system needs new slaves who will pay mortgages until death and perfect consumers without memory and without future. But if there is even a drop of anger in you, a drop of desire not to be biomass, start building your foundation today. Because the water is rising, and when the crisis storm breaks, only those who had a fortress will survive. The rest will go to feed the fish, but I do not promise it will be easy. I promise it will be honest. Subscribe if you want to wake up at 40 as a free person with assets and not a tired slave of the bank. One person in the field is not a warrior, even if he is strong. And to make this video seen by others, we need activity. Write in the comments everything you think about this video, whether you agree or disagree. Or just write a supportive message to help break through the information noise and promote the channel. Build your foundation strong, and we will see each other again in the next video.